Some kids are just energetic. And then there are kids who seem physically powered by lightning. We're talking about the kids who run, climb, interrupt, jump, shout, break things, ask 10 questions at the exact same time, and then somehow, miraculously, still have more energy left to burn. If you're raising a child like this, let me just start by validating something for you. I know just how overwhelmingly, relentlessly exhausting your daily experience can be. It's a lot. But honestly, the hardest part isn't even the energy itself, right? It's the profound confusion about what's actually driving that behavior. So welcome to today's Explainer, where we're going to unpack the absolutely fascinating and absolutely critical differences between a really strong personality and true ADHD. If you have a highly energetic kid, you've probably heard these harsh, honestly unfair judgments from society over and over again. Strangers in the grocery store, friends, even well-meaning family members love to chime in with their unsolicited advice. You know the hits. Your child just needs discipline, they're just spoiled, or don't worry, they'll grow out of it. But what if this simply isn't bad behavior at all? What if your child literally physically cannot slow down? Those kinds of societal comments create this massive, heavy burden of guilt for parents, and it makes it incredibly difficult to see what's actually happening inside your child's developing brain.
Okay, let's dive into this. Section 1. Personality or actual ADHD?
So, this is the big, inciting question at the heart of our Explainer today. We all know healthy children are naturally active. They're supposed to run around, explore, make noise, and move constantly. But some children operate at a completely different, totally uncontainable level. We have to figure out, is this just an incredibly energetic personality, or is it a neurological reality? To answer that, we really need to look at the medical side of things. In modern medicine, Attention Deficit Hyperactivity Disorder is absolutely not just bad behavior. It's a very real neurological condition defined by 3 major traits: difficulty sustaining attention, hyperactivity, and impulsivity. And impulsivity is often the most misunderstood trait of the whole shebang. Think about it like this. One child climbs up onto a table, looks down, and carefully figures out how to get off safely. Another child, they jump instantly without even a flicker of thought about the consequences. That split-second lack of control, that is the crucial medical hallmark we're talking about here.
And that brings us to the secret, heavy fear that so many exhausted parents ask themselves in the quiet of the night. Is my child sick, or are they just difficult? It's a terrifying question, really, because no parent wants to pathologize their child's vibrant, fun personality. But at the same time, no parent wants to ignore a condition that desperately needs support. Getting the answer to this question right is incredibly important for everyone involved.
Now, what's really interesting about this slide is the stark difference in locations. Pay close attention to this. A highly energetic child with just a strong personality might behave completely wildly at home, but when you put them in a structured environment, like their classroom or a friend's house, they function perfectly well. True ADHD, however, it doesn't just switch off. A child with real ADHD struggles everywhere. They struggle at school, they struggle with routines at home, they struggle to learn, and they struggle in social situations making friends. Observing your child across all these different environments is absolutely the ultimate litmus test.
Moving right along. Section 2. Why instructions fail. A communication disconnect.
Let's see how this all builds into everyday parenting. We're going to pivot a bit from how the child's brain works to how we as adults actually approach them, because right now there's a massive disconnect in everyday communication that is quietly making everything so much worse. Here is one of the absolute biggest mistakes adults make: giving complex instructions. Imagine telling a child, "Go clean your room." Now, to an adult brain, that sounds perfectly simple, right? It's one chore. But to a child with ADHD, that simple sentence is a total trap. It actually contains 10 separate hidden tasks. Pick up the toys, organize the books, put the clothes away, make the bed, clear the floor, sort the school supplies, and on and on. Their brain becomes completely overloaded in an instant, and so they either paralyze or they act out.
So, the crucial point here is how we fix it. Short, direct instructions work incredibly well. Instead of that massive, overwhelming demand to clean the whole room, you simply say, "Put the toys in the box." Look at that. One task, one goal, one action. Boom.
Once they do that, you move on to the next single step. Breaking massive tasks into tiny, manageable pieces is an immediate solution that can dramatically reduce conflict and literally change your family's daily life.
Which brings us to Section 3, connection first before instruction. But here's the catch. Even the perfect bite-sized instruction won't work if you skip this absolutely crucial rule. Think about how many times we, as adults, try to yell instructions from the kitchen while a child is fully absorbed in a video game or playing with a toy. If an ADHD brain is locked onto an activity, your words will literally bounce right off them. They aren't intentionally ignoring you. Their brain isn't even registering that you're speaking. You have to follow these sequential steps. First, walk over, approach the child, and say their name. Second, make eye contact. Third, physically remove the distraction if you need to. Fourth, speak calmly. And only then, step 5, do you give your instruction. Connection absolutely has to happen first. This single habit is a total game changer.
All right, Section 4, Rules for ADHD Minds. Structure matters.
Shifting our focus a bit now, let's talk about the essential, actionable toolkit you need to actually create a successful home environment. When you're dealing with hyperactive minds, you need to remember one thing. Structure matters far, far more than perfection. So here are your foundational principles. First up, consistent rules. Inconsistency completely destroys stability for these kids. Second, predictable routines. Keep in mind that chaos outside creates chaos inside. Third, and honestly this is huge, praise effort, not perfection. Instead of saying, hey, you didn't wash this plate properly, try saying, you washed the plate. Great job. Celebrate the attempt. And finally, burn energy. Physical movement naturally regulates their nervous system.
Now for Section 5, Broken Hierarchy. Who leads the house?
We have to take a second to address a very uncomfortable truth about a super common parenting pitfall. Sometimes what looks exactly like out-of-control hyperactivity is actually something entirely different. It's a dynamic created by the adults in the room just giving up to stop the screaming. We've all been there. A child screams, and the exhausted parent immediately gives in. The child refuses to do something, so the adult just changes the rules to avoid a tantrum. But over time, the child learns that the adults will surrender first. They end up becoming the emotional leader of the household. And listen, that is not hyperactivity. That is a broken hierarchy. Children actually feel so much safer when adults remain calm, predictable, and emotionally steady, even when the child is completely melting down.
Finally, Section 6, Seek Understanding. Change the future.
Look, if you've established the hierarchy, you've implemented the daily routines, and your child is still deeply struggling across all their environments, it's time to look forward with some hope. We really need to actively destigmatize the choice to seek professional psychological help. So many parents avoid psychologists or psychiatrists because they feel this deep, heavy sense of shame. But listen to me, ADHD is not a parenting failure, not at all. It is a neurological reality. Getting help early can completely change a child's future. The earlier that support begins, the easier school becomes for them, the healthier their friendships become, and the better their emotional regulation develops. What often looks to the outside world like intentional bad behavior is actually just a child desperately struggling with a brain that works a little differently than ours.
A hyperactive child is not automatically a sick child, and an energetic child is not automatically out of control. If they can adapt and function in structured settings, you might just have a remarkably strong, vibrant personality on your hands. But if those struggles are everywhere, an evaluation isn't a punishment, it's honestly a key to a much better life. Not because something is broken or wrong with your kid, but because understanding changes everything. The moment you stop fighting your child's neurological reality and actually start supporting it, life at home becomes dramatically calmer for everyone. So I'll leave you with this. What steps will you take today to bridge the gap between your instructions and their beautiful, lightning-fast mind?